Welcome. Hi. We're just live. My name's Colteastwood. I'm a content creator on YouTube, and welcome to the channel, and welcome everybody to the chat. I am really excited to talk about some really upsetting but really exciting stuff all at the same time. There's been a whole bunch of stuff as we end the 2023. I wasn't planning on making a video this week or doing more podcasting, but I reached out to a couple good friends, and one is going to be a new friend, I'm pretty sure. And welcome to the channel. Big Bethesda expert, RPG fan, knows everything you need to know about what Todd Howard is doing behind the scenes. Our new friend, Lone Vault Wanderer, how are you?
I'm going good, man. It's really nice to be on the show. I've been watching you for a very long time, so it's awesome that I'm actually here. It's a small world. We all freaking know each other. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, we're all crossing paths on social media where it's a big landmine of nonsense and good celebration, but I just
100%.
Last night I reached out to you. I'm like, hey, I haven't talked to you in like a year, but would you I know it's crazy, kind of like I was asking you out. Do you like hot fudge sundaes? Welcome so much. We'll get to more from you. I gotta introduce yet again a really good friend of mine who runs the Renegade Realm podcast. Red Wolf is a content creator who's covered a lot of Starfield stuff. He's really passionate about anything that has you role play your character, make him a guy, make him a girl, or give him 9 arms. Red Wolf's all about it. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, and a lot warmer now that I have pants on. So, I'm very happy to be
Glad
here.
you mentioned it.
Yeah, just a little, because I didn't want to leave anyone out of that little fact. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on again, my good friend. And Lone, like I said, behind the scenes, it's really great to actually meet you face to face.
I appreciate it, bro.
Like
You
the
too.
camera. Yeah, yeah, man.
So today it's a really unconventional thing. I don't normally live stream, and I usually don't just live stream because people like to sit down and listen to a really cultivated, well thought out video. And here I am just hitting the green button with a couple of guys, and we're gonna freewheel some really, really good discussion. And before we get started, I want to kind of give you guys a gauge, and people who are here in the chat, to kind of tell us where you're at with Starfield at this point. And I'll just start by saying that I put it down about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I played like nearly 300 hours. I did 2 full playthroughs, and I've done just about everything I can with the current build. And Lone, where are you at with Starfield at this point in time?
I'm kind of similar. I put it down about a month or so ago. So I did the full playthrough that I did when I reviewed the game, and then I did a new one, and kind of was like trying to make the perfect build. So I got my level really high, got all the skills that I kind of wanted to do, and now I'm like literally at the point to do all the quests again in the game. And that's where I dropped it. I'm like, I'm actually going to wait for a few more quality of life updates. I want city maps. I want other stuff in there. And then I'm going to do my proper playthrough. And then eventually we'll get DLC and stuff. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. How many hours did you think you got?
Look, probably not as many as you. I would say about 100.
Okay.
something like that. Because you get caught between playing and making video content, and then you don't play as much. And this year has just been crazy with games. We've had so many releases that I've been trying to keep up on top of. It's been a hard year to be a YouTuber.
We were saying that behind the scenes. We'll get into that a little bit as well. Red, where are you at on Starfield? Did you hate it?
I hate Starfield. Matter of fact, I knew that really what fosters attention in the media is hatred, and so I thought, hey, let's hate on this. Let's just talk about everything I hate. I hate Bethesda. Todd's a liar. No, I'm kidding. I love I love Starfield. It's still my dream game. Did it live up to everything? Well, I already can feel the tangent coming. Let me just slow down. Where am I at with Starfield right now? That was the question. That was the question.
I know I can feel it too.
I'm with you guys. And Lone, I'm sort of like with both of you at the same time. Lone, you were saying you're sort of putting it down to wait for things. I was loving Starfield so much that I put it down because I didn't want to do everything and miss out on the gameplay with new features that are coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I wanted
100%.
to wait for like survival mode. Like I didn't want to just have like a checklist of quests and then say, man, I really wish I would have waited to experience this stuff for the first time. But I put it down while I was having a great time. I never hit that point where I was like, I'm starting to get burnt out. I was like, I need to stop because I'm not gonna. So I need to stop right now. But yeah, we'll get into what's coming, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're all kind of about the same. And, you know, I did look back, guys. I looked back that when Fallout 4 came out, I played it probably an extra month or so longer than I played Starfield. And when I went back to Fallout 4 after I wrapped up my time with Starfield, the moment-to-moment gameplay loop of Fallout was more enjoyable because it's all kind of like more tightly compact, which you guys well know. And it's a real slow burn, which is one of the problems I get with Starfield. But since we know where we're at, the first thing I wanted to tackle is this narrative that Lone and I and Red were really upset about last night, like really frustrated the way that the games media is. And I know on this podcast and on my channel, Lone, I've told people I don't believe in the Xbox tax. I outright told my audience that I believe the Xbox tax is an excuse for some of the things that Xbox doesn't do that pushes them above and beyond. Like I believe Xbox is right here. And if there's just a couple things they could do, they could be up in the upper rafters with some of the other competitors. And over this past couple of weeks, it's really changed my perception of what the Xbox tax is. And this being that as we end 2023, the games media galore is writing that Starfield is one of the major disappointments of 2023. And what was your reception for that?
Look, I can absolutely understand if Starfield's not everyone's cup of tea. Like I talked about this in my review. It is a different style of game for a BGS game, and I think that took a lot of people back. However, it is still a good game in my eyes. It is still well reviewed. It's not in the 90s, and I didn't even personally expect it to be in the 90s in terms of an OpenCritic. I guessed it was going to be around 88, and now it's turned out to be 85, 84, whatever it is. I don't understand the narrative that it's a complete disappointment, and whose fault does that lie on? Because you look at Bethesda as a publisher, as a marketer, it is their job to hype up the game, and that's what Bethesda has always done very, very well. Like I've been following them for a very long time. I used to work there for 4 years, right? What they do very well, because they are always on the smaller side when it comes to AAA publishers, they're very good at that marketing and making their game seem really, really big and grand and special. They have this unique style of marketing that get people very, very excited. And they did it very well for Starfield. They did it very well for Fallout 4. Does that raise expectations too high? I don't know, man. It's hard to describe in words. Like
I
what
see
Bethesda
it as
does in their marketing.
Red and I joke about this behind the scenes. You see that moon over there? You can lick it.
You can eat it.
I see it as Bethesda's like, this is how I see them. It's we just made this really big open world, and you could just go all these places. And you know what? If you want to do this, we've got this that does this. We have this too. It's that kind of laid back, it's no big deal marketing that gets people like, we think it is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes you feel, I don't know, special and part of the journey. And maybe that style of hyping up and marketing set expectations very high, so people are like, oh, well, it's a bit of a disappointment. That's the only, or at least one of the only reasons that I can think of, because I tweeted about this, Colt. I think you saw this on my Twitter. I really do think that Starfield has become a huge punching bag. And unfairly, it absolutely deserves criticism in several areas. I just made a video about creations coming to Starfield and how I'm not like the biggest fan with things. But being critical is one thing. Going too far and like it's just your shtick, you're constantly hating on the game. It's like let's be fair here. Like be critical, be negative, but don't take it too far. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fanboy.
Red, what do you think? You've talked about this quite a bit with me about the expectation and the criticism, like what's missing from Starfield, and how do you feel about what Lone's saying?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I guess I'm someone. What I was about to go on a tangent about earlier was everything that I was excited about Starfield about. I don't know.
For and about Starfield.
For and about roundabouts and in and out about Starfield was everything that was actually shown and said that was going to be there, and it is. Whereas, and I think you and I talked about this, like whenever Cyberpunk got revealed, people were like, I mean, they were like, what if you can become Decker from Blade Runner, and you can be like and people just went crazy with expectations, and none of that was there. There were some things with, and I'm just using Cyberpunk as like a hype meter to compare with Starfield. For me, you know, they were hyping up Starfield just sort of the way that they did with all their other games. And I think maybe that played a part. I don't know if where people sort of got their expectations out of place versus what they were shown versus what we got, you know, because everything that's in the game is what I love because I knew it was going to be there. I don't know, but that's just me. But I don't know if I answered your question, or maybe I.
You do. It takes us directly to the next thing where I want to ask both of you guys because I think we probably would have the same answer. And chat, you know, follow along with us and write in the chat what your answer is. And here's the question: what do you think the media as a whole that reported on Starfield before it launched? What do you think they expected Starfield to review at in the overall? What would be the overall number they expected? Because the reason why I asked this, and you can write your answers now, and I'll ask Lone and Red, because I feel like the media expected Starfield to get an 85, maybe an 88. I don't think they expected a 92 or a 96 because I think they were very skeptical. And then I think there were some media conglomerates who were pretty prominent that expected it to be in the 70s. So let me start again with you, Lone. Where did you think the media was sitting before the big disappointment?
Oh, man, that is a hard question. I would probably say, I don't know. I don't know how people could have thought that it would ever even reach the heights of the Elder Scrolls, because like those heights are so lofty. Skyrim has a cult following now. I think you're right. I think and a lot of the conversations that I had with people, not media necessarily, was probably mid-80s. That is what I think, what people expected. So you're right. There is a bit of dissonance between that and then people saying that it's a huge disappointment. If that's what you expected and it was exactly that, where were you disappointed? And now not every media journalist is the same. You have to kind of follow what they said before and after. But I would say mid-80s.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How about you, Red? What do you think? The chat's writing some numbers in that are all over the board, but what do you think the media was expecting Starfield to be for a review score?
Joe Galetto, I agree with you at 95, almost perfect, near perfect. Like Fallout 4. Sorry, that was a deep cut. No one. Sorry. Anyway, we were actually talking last night, and I thought it was going to be like 87. I think that's the number I told you.
I said 88, which I didn't say here today, but I was figuring it.
I don't know. Remind me what it actually is, because.
Well, I mean, it's in like an 83 on Xbox, but OpenCritic being the game Starfield across all platforms, it's an 85.
Okay, well, look at that. I was almost right. But yeah, I mean, everyone for what everyone expected, I think, because they have such a great pedigree with kind of like what you were saying, Lone, like Fallout, Elder Scrolls, you know, especially coming off of Skyrim, and they had a miss with the other studio with 76 to try something experimental. I was saying again last night that I think that they made a good call to experiment with gameplay features in a new IP rather than experiment with new features in a beloved IP like the Elder Scrolls. So Fallout was their first attempt. Like what would miss less, or what would hurt less, I think. So they thought, let's do a Fallout multiplayer game. And then they said, what could we do in terms of exploration and all these ideas that we have? We have this scratch that we want to itch in Starfield. Let's put all of our creativity and all the crazy weird ideas that we have and put it in Starfield rather than Elder Scrolls. And I think people expected it to light the world on fire the way that Skyrim did. And I think they played it safe, if that makes any sense. They played it safe by not going with Elder Scrolls first with all the craziness.
That you said that last night, and it did make me think. Like you sort of posed it as they wanted to get this space idea out. Like this was the itch they had to scratch. Like we want to make this space game. It doesn't have to be Elder Scrolls. It doesn't have to be Fallout. We want it to be its own thing, and it surely is. Lone Vault. It surely is its own thing. When people say Fallout in space, you're like, yeah, you didn't play it. Or when they say Skyrim in space, you're like,
100%.
Right. Yeah. I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not for like it is. Yes, it is a BGS game at heart, and a lot of the mechanics are there. But in terms of how it plays, even just progressing through the game, it's not the one compact world, and you can't move 5 meters without finding something interesting. You are actively having to. The game is essentially guided by quests. It's structured differently.
Sure.
You have to be intentional with where you're traveling, where you want to go. That is not how Fallout 4 and Skyrim plays. It is different, and a lot of the ideas are different. It's not just because space game is different to post-apocalyptic, different to fantasy game. It is very much structured in a different way to how they've done their games. Will they do it again in the future, given the reception? I mean, who knows? But it's not Fallout in space.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to close this thing up in a second about. We'll dive into that last bit about how the media is so disappointed. Before I do that, let me grab a couple supers. Everybody, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We just got a couple. Red Wolf dropped one. That was the other day. Kung Fu Hot Dog says, Merry Christmas, Colt. Love the Wolverine leaks. And it's funny, I was thinking when I wanted to do this thing about talking about Bethesda's roadmap and Starfield, like everybody actually wants to talk about the dire situation that PlayStation's in, and I'm not interested in doing that on a live stream or a string of tweets. So I hope you guys are here to celebrate the games we love and what's to come. Yudona Kizada also, thank you for the $2, says, All-Star cast of based Bethesda stars. Hi to Wolfie Poo, he says to Red Wolf. Awesome. Abdi, thank you so much for the $7 Canadian. Says, do you think Fallout 4's next-gen patch will fix the crash bugs on Xbox? Before I ask Lone for his expertise, I uninstalled Fallout 4 right when I did like a full third playthrough completion last month. It completely almost bricked my Series X. I didn't tell anybody because I was so freaked out that I didn't think I'd be able to fix it, but the screen was lime green, graphical rainbows everywhere, and Red Wolf says, just uninstall your game and it'll fix it, and I reinstalled it. I'm like, it's still there. It was almost destroyed. I had to do a whole factory reset and it's back. But Lone, what are we expecting from the Fallout next-gen patch as far as stability and other things?
Look, there are certain things that they need to fix, and I think everyone agrees with me. Like downtown Boston and how that performs there, 100% needs to be fixed. There is, it's,
no matter what you're
obviously,
on.
especially on Xbox. Yeah, PC is a bit better, but I know the experience on Xbox is pretty bad. I would hope that this is actually going to fix some of the core issues that Fallout 4 has with performance, with stability, with frame rate. It's obviously going to get a slick coat of paint, but
what kind of slick coat of paint? Because
it's a good point because it's a good-looking game already. So I don't know.
Now, where do you primarily play Fallout 4?
PC.
Have you played it on Series X with the FPS boost on?
No. The only time that I played Fallout 4 on Xbox was when I first reviewed the game. I actually played it on the Xbox One, right? So I haven't played on Xbox since then. Does it play all right with the FPS boost?
There are points in downtown Boston where it'll run to 30 frames, but for the most part, it looks like. Well, I have both versions on PC and Xbox. I've gone back and forth many, many times.
Yeah.
When you load it up with FPS boosts, I can't remember if you can change the field of view on PC without a mod.
I think you can now.
Okay.
I would assume so.
That's one of the big differentials. When I load up the FPS boost check button on the Series X, the game looks. You forget that the game actually does look really nice. And when you walk in the interiors with no Pip-Boy light, you're like, wow, for all this baked in stuff, this looks really nice. And the game runs really well. So I'm scratching my head wondering what big improvements they're going to bring. But I think there's so much unoptimized locations that's why this patch isn't out. It's been taking so long.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. They're trying to stamp those locations, and squarely it's downtown Boston. Mm-hmm. They don't want a media storm of, this game is still broken in 2024, blah, 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 especially if this is being released in conjunction with the Fallout TV show. They want everything to be good.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that show as well in just a moment. Thank you, Brio Gyro, for the $10 super chat. He says, in Starfield, he says, I'm level 127, 970 achievements, new game plus 10. I'm still playing Starfield and still excited for the new features. I'm just building wealth and outposts as I tinker with side quests. And if you were watching the show earlier, I had my Crimson Fleet murder fest where I racked up 1 million bounty that I'll never. Can you guys help me get rid of that bounty? $1 million, like maybe donate me some credits in the game or something.
Jesus, how do you build it up that high?
So
I didn't even know.
Normally I would get like a 15,000 credit bounty and then go pay it off if I did something on accident. But I got so tired in my last, like my final 30 to 40 hours of playthrough on New Game Plus, I got so tired of running into Crimson Fleet or pirates who are friendly to me because I'm in the middle of their quest. And I'm like, this game is putting me on so many locations where there's no enemies to fight. And I say, you know what? If you're wearing maroon or you're wearing burgundy or whatever you call it, you're dead. So I just started clipping them. So
that's pretty funny.
Anyway, yeah, it's pretty good. All right, well let's dive into this the rest of that part. So now the media is basically saying that there are major disappointments this year, and of course we know that Redfall and for a game to be a disappointment, it has to have a certain level of hype, and Starfield certainly had a lot of hype. But being an 85 and an open critic doesn't make it a disappointment. But what can you tell me? I'll start with Red. Red, what can you tell me that the media seems to justify that makes Starfield such a disappointment?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to the sorry, I'm trying to stay away from the Xbox tax stuff, right? But I don't know.
I mean, you can dip into that a little bit. I don't care. I mean, there's a lot of people who would agree with you, so
well, let's just pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm kidding. Or am I? But I think, honestly, with the media, as we know it, like with IGN and all the, like IGN gave it a 7, right? And then we see the watermark scores in the trailer, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10s, like 100 of them in that one, whatever. No, I feel like no one's really paying attention to the positivity. And what I said in the beginning, the way I built my channel on hate, was how people just ignore the positivity a lot of the times. Like, why are you enjoying Starfield? Like, we're not talking about how much we love Starfield so much because we're still playing it. Like, when Starfield first came out, remember, I don't know if you guys remember this on social media, on Twitter, everyone was saying, how come no one's talking about Starfield? It's because we're playing it. We're playing it right now. We are knees deep playing it right now. What do you mean? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to? That was every single day. It's pretty quiet around here. It's like, yeah, leave me alone. I'm playing.
It's kind of like when the family sits down and they finally shut up because they're enjoying the food. Sure.
Right. It's like, what, is it not good? What am I supposed to scream while I'm eating this delicious lasagna? Have you tried it?
What about the zeitgeist of like all of the memes? Like they're complaining about there aren't memes. There's like not a big culture. I don't know what you'd call it, like a culture smorgasbord of people talking about like Lone Wolf. Where are the super hot, sexy posters of Starfield characters? Like which Starfield character is like everyone wishing they could come to life and date?
I think I saw the tweet that you're referencing about how there's no fan art of Starfield characters and blah 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 blah. Look, I've thought this for a while, right? And this is beyond Starfield. The games industry has gotten so big that every community has its own bubble community, right?
Okay.
So there's one for Starfield, there's one for Cyberpunk, there's one for Baldur's Gate. And often people that really love a game, they're in that community and they don't and people outside the community don't necessarily see what's going on because algorithms are tailored for your preferences. So when someone says, and that's the tweet that went out, it went viral on Twitter. It was like, I've barely seen Starfield fan art. All I see is Baldur's Gate 3. I'm like, well, because you've told implicitly the social media algorithms that you're on that you're a Baldur's Gate 3 fan. Why would they show you a Starfield fan art if you're not going to engage with it and if you don't like it. Clearly, that's not what your preference is. That's why you're not seeing Starfield fan art. And it goes for any game. It goes for any community. Like, I know that tweet was just to get people riled up a little bit and poke holes at the game. But come on, like let's be honest with ourselves. Like, there are communities that are tailored to show you the content that you want to see because that's what you've told the platform that you want to see. So if you're not seeing other games, it's because you don't like other games, and that's fine. Why would you see Starfield fan art if you haven't on the platform put any engagement or liked any other Starfield fan art? They're not going to recommend you any.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Really good point. Really good point. Yeah. Yeah. Like, why am I all of a sudden seeing a bunch of lasagna videos on my YouTube?
Yeah, like I definitely would not be inundated with Tears of the Kingdom Zelda stuff because that's just not in my algorithm. But there's this fallacy
does that mean that that Zelda fan art doesn't exist, Colt? Of course not. Of course it does.
No.
You're just not in the
Right.
community. You know what I mean?
Right. It doesn't exist in your world because you're not.
Correct.
That's not where you're at. Yeah.
But you didn't answer me the question: who is the hot piece of wonder that you have to date in Starfield? Now this is a very offensive comment to make, and it's not something I would normally make on my channel. But for funsies, it's pretty hilarious to say. Like, who is? I had this graphic that I shared that has like all these IP characters from Xbox's portfolio, and Sarah Morgan's in the middle, and somebody's like, man, this is a literal comment. Man, I wish Starfield had somebody way hotter that I want to make out with than just Sarah Morgan. so who's the hot commodity in the Starfield universe?
Well, look, like for me, it was definitely Andreja. I reckon she's the best companion. But like, it also personality-wise, I was initially all for Sarah Morgan, and then I had her as a companion, and I was like, wow, you are really, really annoying.
She kind of had that third grade teacher thing going, right?
Yeah, like stop lecturing
you go to
me.
reach for
She
something,
kept
she's like,
lecturing me. Yeah, stop doing that.
Yeah.
But Andreja, like given her background in history, was actually a cool companion. I really liked her, so I would say Andreja.
She's like, I'm over here getting in this chest, and you're like, I'm busy. I'm leaning down. I'm picking it up right now. I'm looking for something.
Yeah, Andreja had such a great, like, she felt more real than the majority of characters because she had a bit of darkness and some she was a bit jaded, and she was really like a human character, which is why I loved her.
And she's a soldier. Yeah.
She had a lot of baggage and in all the ways. So that was I agree with you.
I mean, my good friend married Sam Coe in the game, and oh man, we love Elias Effexis. He's so fantastic, and I'm sure Lone, I don't know if you talked about it in your content about how Sam Coe and Andreja were supposed to be the voiced main characters at one point. Did you make a video on that or just report on it?
I didn't make a video. I saw the report. I'm just glad that they didn't go in that direction. Look, I would defend Fallout 4. I think for what it did, it was a really great game. Brought in a lot of casual lay fans. Very successful. And I will say this: I'm actually very good friends with both of the voice protagonists from Fallout 4. I thought they did a great job. I've met them in person. Really? Great, down to earth people. They're honestly they're the best.
That's Jack from Mass Effect. You were able to talk to her?
Yeah, Courtney Taylor. Yeah. I tell you a little story. So
That's awesome.
We did podcasts during the Fallout 4 heyday. We did podcasts and stuff together. Back when, if you remember this, Red, when I didn't show my face, right? No one knew who I was. I was just a username on the internet, Lone Vault Wanderer. And then I went over to E3 through another job that I had. And I saw Courtney Taylor in person, and like someone introduced us as two random people. And then I shook hands or whatever, and I said, "Hey, Courtney, you actually know me. I'm blah blah blah." And she freaked the hell out. It was the coolest moment in the world.
That's so cool, man.
I love Courtney. I've met her many times, and saying how much I love the game, I still don't believe a voice protagonist was the right choice. Just because of the way that we all play BGS games. We want to immerse ourselves. We want to be in the shoes of the protagonist, and it's harder when you have a voice character behind that, right? Especially when you're role-playing multiple times for your character to sound the same the whole time, because that's the way voice protagonists work. I don't think it was the best call. So I'm glad that they didn't do it for Starfield. I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, whenever you play Bethesda games, you really want to. I always use the term inject yourself into the experience, even if you're not out loud saying the lines like I am, like a psychopath in my pajamas on my couch, trying to sound like Geralt the whole time.
That's a fascinating story. Any chance it's coming to an end?
Exactly. But you're right, yeah, and I feel like even with like it was interesting to see it in Fallout 4, but I wasn't like against anyone whenever people were like, I don't like it, it's wrong. And I was like, I kinda like it. I just liked it because it was new. And we were talking last night again how like a reviewer with 50 hours will put the review out for a game, and then someone the same day who just got it that morning has 4 hours, and they say, you're wrong about that feature. And they go, just wait until you're 50 hours in, come back to me, and then let me know how you feel then. And that's actually how I felt about the voice acting. So I do agree. After a while, I was like, I don't feel like that's me. I'm just playing as,
as that character,
as another character, as that character. Yeah.
Even though the guy's name is Colteastwood in Fallout 4, and he looks like me if I was handsome, I still kind of do get pulled out of that moment. But in 2015, it felt modernized. It's like, okay, this is modernized instead of the slam into the straight ahead where nothing's moving in the background. They're like, yeah, I won the lottery. Woohoo! And I mean, sorry about your eardrums if that was super loud, but
oh, it's perfect.
I like both, but my problem with the way that the guy voiced Fallout 4 is that his delivery is kind of like, yeah, I guess I was frozen for 200 years. Oh well, it was kind of like that. But Courtney Taylor's performance was just, I mean, hey, it's kind of like FemShep, right? You get even better when you choose that. So
she was stellar. Yeah.
That is such a tangent.
Before we go, I just want to shout out my good friend DeMarco, dude.
Oh yeah,
he wanted to shout out and say hello to you, Lone. He loves you very, very much,
hey,
and he wishes he was as handsome as you. Is what he just DM'd me on Twitter.
Good to hear from you, DeMarco. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, and he says hello. Hey, Colt.
Yeah, thank you, DeMarco. It's good seeing you again, as always. And hey, you guys, give a thumbs up if you're here and you're enjoying the show as we get into this discussion about Bethesda. And we're going to talk about the future and what's to come for Starfield in just a moment. But give an extra special thumbs up if you can hit it a little extra hard. Lone Vault woke up kind of early, and he was like, I was like, hey, he goes, you still want to do this? It's 7 a.m. here, and I'm like, yeah, let's wait a while and let's wait until you've had some cereal.
Thank you for waiting.
Yeah.
I was still in bed messaging you, and you were like, you want to do this in 2 hours? I'm like, sure, let's do it.
It's crazy because he's in Australia, so he's a day and a half ahead of me, and it would be like 10 o'clock last night. I was like, hey, man, I had this idea, and then I went to bed. Left it hanging.
Phone hits the face and everything.
Pain. Absolute pain.
Yeah.
You just like...
But it's such an honor for Red and I to have you here and to talk. People, if you're a Bethesda fan, you love to talk to people who know exactly what you're talking about. Let's talk about the new expansions, because we've been twirling our mustache thinking about what big or small changes are coming and how soon is this new update. They've outlined it. You've made content on it. Lone, take the floor and tell us what we can expect first for Starfield if people want to come back or keep going. Sounds like people are still going.
Well, if you're still going and want to come back. So Bethesda essentially came out and said, starting from February, we're going to have a major update. And from that moment, there's going to be updates every 6 weeks. Now, they didn't list an exhaustive list, and they kind of specified that. This is like the stuff that we can talk about now, but we're obviously tinkering with other stuff at the moment. But they have stuff planned like, city maps. City maps, Colt, you kind of mentioned this on Twitter, and I 100% agree. City maps should have been in the game before launch. It makes navigating cities very, very hard without one. So that is coming, as is more ship customization, as is so you can have, by the way, decorations and new shipbuilding options in the game. Of course, there's already that stuff in the game, but there'll be even more
decorations like what, like racing stripes or
Yeah, like little stuff that you can maybe like put inside of your ship and stuff like that. Like I think they're just going to go like crazy with it. They've learned a lot from Fallout 76 in particular, that when you keep adding that stuff into a game, people will go crazy, and that's why they spend more time in the game. And then when they eventually release creations, they're probably more likely to spend money. They know what they're doing. They've learned from Fallout 76.
Shout out to the real Fallout 76 fans out there, like that Blue Number and Red and I, like. Lone, you didn't know this, but like a year ago and all before, I hated the game. And then I don't know, something clicked the summer before Starfield came out, like 2 months before the game came out, where I was like, I think I like this more than Fallout 4 in so many ways. So yeah, big props to the team for building something amazing. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, if we have time, we can talk more about 76. But yeah, and then they're adding more stuff like new gameplay options, so you can like tweak your difficulty. So right now, there's obviously the general difficulty levels, but I think the idea is you'll be able to specify how difficult you want space combat, how difficult you want the afflictions in the game, and when you're walking through and exploring the environment. So different stuff like that. I think they've been testing it, and they're really going to get in depth, hopefully, about how you can fine tune the difficulty in the game. But obviously, the big one, Colt, is modding. They're going to bring the official modding tools out next year, and as part of that, creations are coming to Starfield. Which, if you don't know, essentially with Skyrim back in the day, they had a thing called Creation Club. Creation Club was where Bethesda Game Studios reached out to a modder and said, "Hey, we want you to make this mod for a certain fee, and we're going to sell it on the Skyrim store." So that was Creation Club, and that was tied in with free mods as well as kind of the one thing. And now they've been combined into Creation. So there's both free versions, and now if you're a vetted creator, you can essentially create paid mods and earn a royalty on that. That system is going to be coming to Starfield in the coming year. That's pretty much it.
If people are paid for their creations, like they will be making the best thing they can make to get the most return on it. So we could see some really cool... those are mods that get certified by Bethesda, so we pay money to apply them.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of thoughts that I have about the system, but that is in on paper how it's meant to work. Modders get compensated so they can do this ideally as a career. They can spend as much time as possible because they're getting compensated for it.
Okay. Red, I know you probably have some specific questions about this update. Is there anything you want to ask him that we can kind of dive into what we think is coming with these new changes?
Yes. The one thing that I want so bad in Starfield, survival mode, and even at its barest bone, eating, sleeping, drinking, just to give, because Alone, I don't know if you agree with this, but like in Bethesda games, I mean, they have so much, just as Todd would say, stuff in their games that in survival mode, it gives a lot of that stuff a lot more meaning. And especially with like the afflictions and stuff that you get in Starfield, which, by the way, I hope that that is like another improvement. But survival mode just gives a lot of meaning to the random items in the world. So survival mode is the one thing that I'm hoping for, and a sort of maybe even like limiting you with traveling, so you can only sort of slingshot from one system to another instead of just because then space travel would feel like traveling instead of just teleporting everywhere. Because if you're like in Skyrim and Fallout 4 or any Bethesda game, once you put 30, 40 hours into the game, you're just on the map, boom, 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 boom. You're just all over teleporting. The place, teleporting.
Yeah.
And it sort of just takes away the feeling of the exploration. So I feel like maybe that they could do that with survival mode. So what do you think about survival mode coming to Starfield?
I definitely agree that it would add much more meaning to all the food items in the game and the stuff that right now, let's be honest, is almost pointless. And they did add the easy eat option when you see a food piece that you can just eat it straight away, because no one's going back in their inventory and eating stuff when it gives you like no health. And it's kind of crazy when you're right. But it's kind of crazy when you look at how much work they put into how realistic the sandwiches look and how good the food looks when they don't have an actual proper use in the game. Do you know what I mean? So survival mode would absolutely help with that. I'll be honest. I was never expecting a survival mode from launch. Like with Fallout 4, that came much later. It requires a lot of fine tuning, but more importantly, it's a reason for people to play the game again. So it's actually strategic. Don't just have it from launch. Let people play the game normally. And then 6, 7, whatever months later, you add a survival mode. They have more reason to come back. And, oh, look at these pretty creations that you can buy with money now. That's why they're doing it.
Okay, well, what about you have, if there's like 400 individual items in the world, it seems like 200 of them are completely worthless. All you can do is pick up like the space duct tape and these other wrenches and assorted items only to make pennies on the dollar in vendors. And like, why would you carry them? Because over encumbrance is so bad in this game. Well, is there another reason why they included all these different items in the, I don't want to jump into a whole things that are wrong with the game, but isn't that like a weird choice they made? Or what's your opinion on that?
I know, I agree. Like they put so much effort, and not just effort in doing it, but also emphasizing the physics system that they have. And like all these items have their own physics, and you can move them around and da. But what do you actually use them for? Well, they just sit in your storage. And as you said, over encumbrance is such a pain. There's only like 1, maybe 2 unlimited storage containers in the game. I really wish that more of these items had more of a use. And they're meant to be used in crafting. They're meant to be used in modding your gun and doing a lot of that stuff. But I don't know. I just felt like I was picking up a lot of useless stuff for nothing. But to be honest, that was kind of introduced in Fallout 4. It went
But you
crazy.
could break down the wrenches and the duct and the space tape.
Yeah.
So they had their only the only thing I could figure they were for was to make 3 credits, like by selling 9 things. And Red, you did not ask him the most important question. It was one of the bullet points. One of the most important bullet points was new ways to travel.
Oh my goodness!
One. Yeah.
Let me ask this. Lone, what do you think about the new ways to travel? Do you think that this means that we're going to get like a hover bike, like we have in like Destiny, for example, just something that we pull out and
Segway?
Because traversal can't be grounded because of the way the procedural generation works, I would assume. So you don't know. I guess you can't really like account for how literal wheels on the ground is going to mix with the way you don't know how the terrain is going to be generated, I guess. Do you think that that's what they mean? Or do you think that it's a combination of land vehicle, hover bike, and with the fast traveling? Like maybe they're doing some like fly into a planet and then it makes you land. What do you think about the
There's a lot there.
Yeah,
there is a lot. Like it could be the fast travel. It could be like flying from planet to planet. Like hypothetically, the light speed is actually something that you move through, and it's not just a cutscene or a loading screen. I do think though the most likely thing is some sort of Mars rover style of vehicle, or what I said from the beginning, and this to me is the least amount of work because the system is there. You have your cool jetpack. You can use the boost, and there are different options for it. Just have one that takes you like this horizontally, so you can just fly across the bloody planet. The I don't know why that wasn't included from the beginning. That would actually make planet traversal much more enjoyable. If you don't think, because that's what Bethesda Game Studios said, they didn't believe that a vehicle or a Mars rover or some sort of mount would have worked. But you have this jetpack, just allow us to do that. I think that's an easy thing. Jetpack, move horizontal very, very fast. It's easy to get from one place to another. I would have loved that. I would really love that.
Like just something as simple as a new jetpack variant? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. That's what I mean. In terms of like how hard the work is, why? Because it's you can't just like create a mount or create a vehicle. It's a lot of coding. It's a lot of hard work. It's much more hard work than just introducing a new jetpack variant that they just change it's not as simple as this, but they just change the numbers. So instead of boosting you up, it boosts you horizontally really fast. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that is a nice balance that they can reach.
That is one of the issues with the jetpack, using it as a ease for traversal. All of your trajectories are, 80 degrees up and very not very far out. And I have thought about that. Like if you could boost forward, even in Mass Effect Andromeda, you can sort of use that to speed up traversal, although your boost is only a few feet. So or a few meters, as it were.
Yeah,
there you go.
but then you can tie that into your skills and like if you want to be able to move horizontally faster to make planet traversal easier, you spec into a certain skill and then it makes it much better. I mean, that's how BGS games have always worked. I was very surprised that wasn't included from the get-go.
Okay. Is there anything else on that list that it needs to be further defined, Red, when you think about that list of updates coming? I guess the other question would be, if you can't think of it, how soon is this update expected?
Well, so what were you saying, Lone? You said after February from that point?
Well, they said the first major update is in Feb. Now, how many of these things are going to be included in that update, we don't know. But every 6 weeks from that moment on, they intend to do an update. If I was to guess, every one of those updates every 6 weeks will include a new cool feature. So the first one in February might have the different way to travel. The second one might have, city maps. Like, hypothetically, I think that's how they're going to split it out. And then eventually, you've obviously got to fit in Shattered Space, a new expansion in there somewhere. That's going to be one of them. But I would also assume that update includes a lot of quality of life stuff too, because it's bringing more people back to the game. So I assume that's how they want to tie it in.
Yeah, I really wish they would have changed the coefficient of weight for everything. I got over encumbered so fast, like twice as fast as I did in any other Bethesda game. Let's talk about Shattered Space, because this is one aspect of Starfield that I have not bothered to even dive into what could be. Let's talk about what Shattered Space is supposed to be as an expansion and what things we're going to see and when that will drop, because honestly, I have not given it much thought. I live my life 1 week at a time.
Well, I don't know when it's coming, but I think the easiest thing to say, so what they said specifically, it's going to be new story content, new locations, new gear, and much more. I strongly think, and I think a lot of people think the same, the Varun faction is going to get a lot of importance in that content, because you have all these friggin' traits and story points and dialogue that relate to the Varun faction. You never get to meet them. So, where the hell were they? And I remember I was talking to, I don't know if you've watched his content, Camelworks. He was also playing the game before launch, and he was like, I picked this one, and he's like, I'm 60 hours in, Lone. Have you found them yet? I'm like, no, I haven't found them yet. Why they weren't in the main game, even though there are all these things pointing to the Varun? They have to be as part of Shattered Space. They have to be, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. And they did say 2024, right? They're still holding to that. So a year from now, like at the end of the year, I would assume is kind of that's how I don't know. My expectations for things.
I would probably say Shattered Space mid-year. If I was to guess, and I'm pulling these numbers out of nowhere, but Shattered Space mid-year and maybe mod support and creations later in the year. That would be my
guess.
Or they could go the other way around.
Yeah, I know.
I know, it's a long time. But
I want the mods available in some aspect, like soon in the early part of the year. Who was this in the chat was asking, Ray Oid is like, is it okay to talk about spoilers in the chat? And I'm like making this decision. I think mild spoilers. I think at this point, if you're here, you've probably finished the game.
We can talk around it if people in chat. Like it's pretty easy to talk around. I feel like even when the reviews came out, people were talking about New Game Plus and how amazingly implemented it was in comparison to other New Game Pluses.
And we couldn't even really talk about that, Reddit, under the embargo agreement. Like it was really tough. Lone and I were talking pre-show about how we'll dive into this for a second here. Yeah, reviewing this, I have to be very careful when I say this because it can come off the wrong way. I'll start by saying I am so grateful that I have the opportunity to play a game early and have the opportunity to review it. It is a massive privilege as a content creator who's gotten to that point where they earn that privilege. And so it's a really cool thing. But Lone and I were talking about how it can suck a lot of the enjoyment away when you're under the gun of a review embargo, guidelines, a deadline. And we both felt this way when we were playing Starfield. How did you describe it?
Oh man, I was just tired. I was exhausted. I was stressed. I was having, and I'll share this with you all. Like I was not having a good time, reviewing the game because I felt this pressure. And I took, because I work full time, I took time off of work. So this is like me, you know, so this is me full time, just playing Starfield. I wasn't even making any other video content, which reviewers do at the same time they're also reviewing games, like Maddie and ACG. So I had all my time dedicated to Starfield. It was genuinely, and again, like you, Cole, I appreciate the ability to get codes and to be part of that process. But I was the most stressed that I've ever been in my life. Ever.
How many hours were you playing a day?
Dude, you're sitting in front of your desk for at least 10 to 12 hours. That is the time that you have to spend, because then you have to think about scripting. Then you have to think about capturing gameplay and editing that. So it's not just playing the game to be an expert and be able to talk about it. At some stage, you need to call it and say, I need to stop at 50 or 70 or 80 hours and then be able to review it.
I need to make sure I finish the story so I have enough time to do all those things that you've been capturing, writing, and getting ready. And what a dumb thing to complain about. Like, yeah, we get it. It does sound like it is a really dumb complaint. We know it is, but we did feel very pressured. But yeah, I mean, in the opening,
and honestly, Colt, this is a game that how many weeks did Bethesda give us to review? They were very generous. That was not normal. It was like a lot of review codes.
Was it a full 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was full. It was 2 weeks, right? And a lot of review codes that I've done, like it's been 2 or 3 days, and obviously different lengths of game. But they gave us a lot of time, and because there was so much to do. It was stressful for me, and that's no fault on Bethesda. It's no fault on the review process. That it's just for me and what I enjoy. It wasn't. I was very stressed. I was exhausted by the end of that process, and I was so burnt out that I stopped making video content for a month. It was stressful.
I did too. I went to PAX after the review went up, and I did a guide video for Starfield, and then I didn't make content for like 3 weeks, and then I had the pressure of I need to provide content for people who want to see what is going on. But my question is, Red, this is like a kind of a different discussion than normal, but my question is like, how much jaded do reviewers get when they're not reviewing one big game during the month? They're reviewing sometimes 2 big games, and then every other week they're reviewing games with their outlets. Red, being someone who doesn't do industry reviews, do you think from where you're looking at hearing this that reviewers would feel a certain way about how much they actually really enjoyed games?
Oh, if the pressure wasn't on all the time, with reviews, yeah. I mean, I've heard from Carrick alone, ACG, talk about. I mean, that's his whole thing, and people ask him all the time, like, does it take away your enjoyment from the game? And he's talked about it like it's sort of become his cadence because that's what he's doing so much. So that's sort of how he's played games. And in between, he goes back to things. So he doesn't he goes back to it's like me like trying to finish my list of games, like my backlog, and then every now and then I'll go back and play Skyrim or the Witcher or something like that to like sort of like get like a spot of happiness in between because I'm a psychopath. But I think the answer is yes for someone who doesn't do it all the time but does get it. Like you both were reviewing Starfield, and you felt the pressure. There is the hype that comes with it. There is the I really want to nail this. I want to give a good perspective, and you. The whole time that you're playing, you're like, I don't even know what. I mean, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but like, I can imagine that if I was reviewing Starfield and I had 2 weeks to make a video, to write a script, to get all my thoughts into one thing, I would be so overwhelmed and it wouldn't feel fun to me. So I feel like with reviewing games in general, Colt, your question was, I think, if I can remember, it was, how do people...
Do you think the reviewers have a hard time enjoying games when they're under the gun? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of...
I would say yes. I would say yes. Like Skill Up talked about, he was on a show with Maddie recently with Jake Baldino, and he talked about...
Oh, I got to see that.
Yeah, it was great. And he talked about how he's written scripts for games that he loved so much for a review, he couldn't put it into words, like, because he loved it so much. And that's like the other end of the spectrum. Like if you're playing a game, you love it so much, you're like, I can't explain how I feel. I can just make a noise, like, ha, and that's all I can do. Right, that's as far as I can go. That's kind of how I think, how he was talking about it. But I think the majority of reviewers treating it like a job probably take it a little too seriously, and I don't think they'd have as good a time as they would just. You got to think, it's always in the back of your head. My script, my notes, it's so, and you guys know this way more than I do, but that's my take as someone who's done nothing.
Well, I think that Starfield landed amongst some of the historic games of this past decade or 15 years. Being such a big, high profile game that Starfield is, and then it launches next to a year where there are not enough slots for Game of the Year contender because there were so many huge games that came out all in the same year. It really works against it. And I feel like the things that I don't love about Starfield would keep it out of these top 6 slots for Game of the Year. But after finishing a couple of those games or setting them down that end up getting nominated, I'm like, well, maybe Starfield should be in there, but it wasn't. What, Lone, you were going to say something? Sorry about that.
No. Like I was just agreeing with what was being said before. What I will say is that when you are reviewing a game, to feel those feelings, I think it's completely normal. I think it's human for everyone to feel stress, and that's why part of me does feel for journalists that do this, and in the context of them probably like working like it's a very fickle industry. You don't know when you're working in media and publishing. Am I going to have a job? Is my contract going to get extended? How many hours am I putting into this, and what am I getting paid? I couldn't imagine how stressful it is. I couldn't do it. I'm not built like ACG. I'm not built like other creators who have found that rhythm. They found that cadence. They're so bloody good at it, and that's what they do. Me barely reviewing games and coming into that process was so overwhelming that I didn't know how to process it in the moment. I think these are just normal feelings. Yeah, everyone's probably going to be a little bit tired, exhausted, and a bit jaded when you're constantly reviewing games. To be clear, sometimes reviewing games you wouldn't otherwise play, but you're doing it because it's your job. I think that's normal, completely normal.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me the other day, is it worth it for you to make videos? Like, is it worth it for how much you get paid, for how much time you put in? I'm like, you mean how much I make per hour by making a video? And he's like, yeah. Is it worth it? I go, well, I don't think of it that way because I make the videos on my free time because I have a full-time job. Sometimes I worry if I spend 6 hours on a video that I just really labored over and it doesn't do well. And you and I were saying before the show that typically our game review videos do less traffic than our regular videos. And so you feel like you have to understand that when you do a review video, it's far more work than when you do something and report it on the news. And I feel a certain way about that. I couldn't imagine being a contractor for IGN or a gaming outlet or being someone who bills their time and saying, okay, I played this game for 60 hours and then I spent 18 hours writing and compiling and building the review and getting it on YouTube for you guys. And then they're like, okay, here's your $17 an hour, like, or whatever it would end up being based on how much time you spent, because it really could be that's a crazy discussion for content creators and people who want to do something like that. DeMarco, dude, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He says, my holiday contribution to the Cult Christmas Fund. Hope it's a good one for you and your family. Thank you very much. We're getting really close to the holiday season, and I'm just hunkering down playing the Avatar game, and it's sort of overstayed its welcome the past couple of days. It's taking too long to finish it, but I'm glad I'm playing it. Have you played it, Lone?
I've played a little bit. Did I get an early copy? I did get an early copy. It's definitely a game, in my opinion, for people that are Avatar fans. Like, I've never been a huge fan of. Oh, he's disappeared.
What?
Is this? No, there he is.
I was frozen. I was sitting here like for like a minute straight. I was like, it's not going to fix itself.
Now, I see you behind the broadcast, and you're just like very pensive. You're like,
I'm just like,
I love these two guys.
You're back. You're back.
yeah, there we go.
But yeah,
We're good.
like
Sorry about that.
I think it's definitely for fans of Avatar. Like for me, I wasn't really feeling the story. I wasn't really like it's such a beautiful game though. Like let's be real, but I wasn't really vibing with it purely because I'm not an Avatar fan. But also like I wouldn't play otherwise unless I was reviewing it. I wouldn't play a game for a movie or a TV show or an anime that I wasn't already a fan of. Like there's not that incentive there for me. So I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm not a fan of Hogwarts, and I ended up loving the game. So there are exceptions, but
Yeah.
I like
fair.
the Avatar movies. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, and I've enjoyed most of my time with it. But yeah, it's definitely not Far Cry. It's like it's a discussion for another time. But it's on sale already. So if you think you'd like it and you see it for $20, definitely jump on the game, and you'll get $20 worth of enjoyment out of it. Let's jump into. I don't have a topics list. Like we sort of talked about this earlier about what we're going to say on the show, but I would love to go back and forth with you about this. Chris Avallone, who talked about what could have been with Bethesda's IPs,
man.
and I didn't get to talk about this very much on my shows. You ran out of time, but I figured that you guys would be really good to like bounce around this idea. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about. One of the former leads at Obsidian back during the heydays of Fallout 76 or Fallout New Vegas said that they had big plans. And Lone, I'll let you take it from here because I thought this was such a cool tweet that came out of nowhere from Chris.
Yeah, so he said when he worked at Obsidian and obviously New Vegas was in the process or probably had wrapped up, they had pitched for them to do not only more Fallout New Vegas style expansions or spin-offs for the franchise, but they wanted to do something for the Elder Scrolls as well. And that was big because at the time Elder Scrolls Online wasn't a thing. So they thought it could really work well. Like Obsidian could be that developer that creates the spin-off title in between the major releases for BGS, because that has always been an issue for Bethesda Game Studios. And I'm a huge fan of them. I defend them constantly. And this is just a reality of the games that they make. They're huge and they take 4 to 5 years. I think Starfield was even longer than that, right? When you factor in everything, it's a long time in between drinks, and because of that, I just don't. But you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
In my eyes, and this is probably what Chris was getting at when they pitched the idea. Like, there is no other way unless you suddenly can expand by 300-400 devs, which is just not practical. There'd be no other way to release titles like that unless you gave it to another developer. And they thought, well, we did New Vegas. Why can't we do something else? And effectively, that was rejected in his words by Bethesda.
Okay. All right. Man. So we gotta speculate and we gotta kind of illustrate what could be. Fallout New Vegas comes out in 2010. Fallout 4 comes out in 2015. What do you think, Red? What do you think would be the next thing that Obsidian would want to tackle first? Would it be Elder Scrolls or would it be another Fallout game?
No, I mean, I feel like in the audience might agree or not. It would have to be the Fallout new, or yes or no, or maybe that the Fallout New Vegas spinoff, New Vegas 2 or whatever, would have been the thing that people wanted the most, because at launch, New Vegas wasn't how it's talked about nowadays. It came out and people liked it a lot, but it wasn't like that was the best one. It's just over time that's sort of what it's become. Fallout 3 was an anomaly. I mean, I didn't know that I remember walking into Blockbuster, remember those days, and seeing this Fallout 3 on the shelf, turning it over, and it's like, this looks amazing. There's a dog on this. I love dogs. And getting it home. And then telling my friends, no one was playing Fallout 3. No one was playing Fallout 3. What is that game? And I was like, you know what? It reminds me a lot of Oblivion. And lo and behold, it's the same people, because I didn't pay attention to all the words on the. But anyway, as for how Bethesda turned Fallout 3 from an isometric turn-based ish, and for what they did with it, and made it modernize it sort of the way that they kept trying to modernize, like with Fallout 4. New Vegas 2, I think, would have been the best next best thing for them to throw out there for the audience. And maybe the idea of Fallout being multiplayer was such another scratch that they wanted to itch. Like, we got to scratch this itch first. And they wanted to get the multiplayer Fallout first. Because I'm sure that's been a thing for a long time. I'm sure you guys remember the Fallout mod in New Vegas, allowing them to play multiplayer. And then wasn't that shut down, Lone? Like, they just like...
I never bothered trying it. It just seems sketchy to me.
Yeah, it was like
this is some random server.
Right. Yeah, really sketchy. So
what would the timeline be if 2015 or 2016, like it's kind of Fallout's all settled in, and I would think that around 2016 would be when Obsidian was like, hey, we want to do something.
Right.
And I would disagree with Red and think maybe they'd be pitching the Elder Scrolls spinoff first. Like, we just had a fantastic Fallout game. Let us try Elder Scrolls. We can do something really great, and build it off the Fallout 4 engine, which was built off of Skyrim's. If Obsidian was going to make... And you were saying New Vegas too. I think they also kind of hint that their idea would be to make Fallout in a New Orleans or somewhere else besides Vegas. But
sure.
Right. It would be their next location to take on, because now we know that's what they've been doing with Fallout. Lone, I got to ask you, you and Red and I can kind of talk about what an Elder Scrolls spin-off game would be like, and what they would bring to the table.
It's hard to have this discussion now, because Elder Scrolls Online is now a thing. Like, if you even like somewhat closely follow what ZOS are doing with Elder Scrolls Online, they're telling so many stories. Like, they're telling so many expansions. They're revisiting old areas.
Oh, right.
I don't know, aside from doing the next big Elder Scrolls 6, and that's what they're doing. I don't know what a spin-off would add that Elder Scrolls Online isn't already doing in some capacity, aside from the fact that it would be a single-player offline RPG, right? In my mind, I don't know. Chris even mentioned this, that it makes less sense now because SO is a thing. And I said in my video, I kind of get what he's saying, because you don't want to step on their toes. You would essentially have to wait until SO is done, look at the expansions that they've covered, because all of these are canon that are all adding to the lore of the franchise, which is so convoluted. They literally have a person hired as a lore master to make sure everything makes sense.
Master.
That's his job. I'm not even bullshitting you. That is his title. He's lore master, and that's his job, is just to make sure that continuity is there and it all makes sense.
Does he have like a really long beard and he wears like a barrel as he walks? I'm the lore master.
I think the previous dude in the role kind of did, but then this new guy came in and he was not that.
He was a little more respectable.
Yeah. But you have to wait until SO is done, in my mind, see what stories that they've told, and then start something new, because you can't step on what they're doing with SO. It makes too much money.
So the problem would be, and I was guessing on the timeline, if they were pitching this in 2016, I think that's when Elder Scrolls Online launched, or 2013 or 14? What was that? Do you remember?
It was, I'm just going to pull it up now.
I think it was at the end of the Xbox
2014.
Okay, so
look at you go. Look at you.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's what happens when you bring in an expert, Red. We should try it more often.
Let's do it.
April 2014.
So if Obsidian came to them at any point after Fallout New Vegas and said, we want to do something with Elder Scrolls, they would have been like, go away. We can't even say we're already doing something with that.
Exactly right.
But my
now
favorite
it kind of makes sense, right? That they were rejected. Like, well,
at first I was mad.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of makes sense that they rejected it at that stage, and that's why I'm saying they wouldn't even entertain an Elder Scrolls spin-off until they're done with SO, because it just wouldn't make sense.
Which it's coming up on. It's 9 years. Yeah, it's coming up on a decade that Elder Scrolls Online has been out. But my favorite part of the tweet was Chris Avellone kind of implies that. It's kind of hard to say. He kind of implies that they didn't want Obsidian to, what's the word? Outdo them, I guess. It's kind of, in a nice, really professional way, he said that. He said, we don't want Obsidian Entertainment to make another better Fallout or Elder Scrolls game. But I know they have asked them about Fallout. So,
yeah.
They didn't want them to take, and Todd doesn't want them to. Here, let me talk really, really slowly for world-renowned GeoHound, just so I can finish my sentence. So if you're watching,
are we talking too fast?
Let me.
Yeah, I do it a lot.
Sorry, it's ADD. No, I go on tangents because I have so much to say, and I love Bethesda. But
you have to talk
Thanks
fast.
A lot, GeoHound. Thanks a lot, because I'm gonna forget, and now I forgot. You know what?
You got to speak quickly so you don't forget what you're going to say next. Because my brain's like this big. Thank you for that.
Exactly. Thank you. God, what a beep.
Obsidian Fallout. Go Red. You have.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So they didn't want to. You like to. Never mind. I can't remember who I was listening to the other day. It might have been Carrick talking about this, where he said, Todd Howard might have like an issue with people holding his baby, and with the amount of time that it takes for BGS, Bethesda Game Studios, to come out with their games, and how it's taking longer and longer to make their games. Maybe they thought that they wouldn't get enough of the praise because in what did you say? 2016 could have been the spinoff, right? And then 2 years later, we had 2018 Fallout 76.
Goodness.
At that point, you're looking at maybe a little bit of oversaturation with Bethesda style games. Maybe there was a thought process of they don't feel as special because they don't come around as often. I mean, there's a lot there, but if anyone's gonna outclass Bethesda, it might be Obsidian with Bethesda's toolkit with the tools to make a Bethesda game, especially in this day and age with what they've done with Outer Worlds and all the other things that they made that I can't remember right now. Yeah, that's my thought. Maybe I don't know if you guys agree. Do you guys think maybe they were afraid, like not afraid, but like we still need to remain Bethesda, not let Obsidian overshadow us?
I don't know if I necessarily assign, and this is maybe because like I really like the team at BGS. I don't know whether they would be that spiteful about it. I think a big part of it has to be what we just touched on before. When someone comes to them and says, "Hey, I want to do a Fallout spin-off," and in the background they're developing Fallout 76.
I never thought of that until now.
But you know what I mean? Like, why would that make sense for you to do a Fallout spin-off and take away from the sales and potential success of a game that we're developing? We want to focus on that. Equally, why would we entertain your idea of an Elder Scrolls spin-off, Obsidian, when we're planning Elder Scrolls Online in the background? In my mind, that has to be part of. I'm not saying that this is clear cut. This is the one reason. It's probably a multitude of reasons why they would say no, but that has to be part of it. I would say if they're doing their own projects in that franchise, why would they give it off to another person for them to kind of essentially they're cannibalizing themselves if they were to make that decision. So I think that has to be part of it in my mind.
I think you both nailed it better than any thought that I'd given to it before, where Red says it takes away the speciality of the distance between games that makes Bethesda games so well loved and anticipated. And then you saying that it cannibalizes the moment that they're supposed to have with 76 and Elder Scrolls Online. And I never even stopped to think about when they were pitching this to them that Bethesda's like, yeah, we already got one of those and we already got one of those. Yeah. Anything else? But when I heard Cress Avalon say that, I'm like, oh, you think about what could be, because Fallout New Vegas does nearly everything better, in my opinion, than Fallout 3, and I love both games. And when Red mentioned Outer Worlds, I'm like, I liked Outer Worlds, but I feel like they only went part of the way there and they just stopped. And they were under limited funding and they worked with a smaller publisher. So Outer Worlds 2 better be completely killer. I don't know. Like... Lone's like, it's not really worth talking about because it's never going to happen. He dashed all our dreams right here on the show.
Look, you never say never in the industry. And the fact is they're both on the Microsoft now. if anyone's going to make it happen, it's Phil.
Sure.
Phil's the only one that's going to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, Phil, make it happen. Can you tell Phil?
You hear me?
Yeah.
I mean, you know the fans
only
want
one. Yeah, he's the only one that would be able to convince Todd and the team to let them have this one, in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, they really are. The leadership at Xbox really said, we want those teams to make what they want to make. So it would be Obsidian saying, please, can you go talk to Todd? I know you know where he lives. Can you go talk to Todd?
Well, here's the thing. I mentioned this in my video. Like, does anyone think that Xbox wouldn't want let's call it a New Vegas 2 for the lack of a better term?
Sure.
Do you think Xbox wouldn't want that, or an Elder Scrolls spin-off, when they have these Game Pass, like very lofty Game Pass goals that they're trying to hit year on year? Of course they would. Like, they know what a Fallout New Vegas would do to Game Pass subscription numbers. It would shoot them through the roof, just like Starfield did, right? That subscription service is going to live or die based on the amount of content that it receives. So if you don't think that Xbox wouldn't want that, and I think there were rumors that Xbox wanted a New Vegas 2 earlier this year or sometime previously, you'd be crazy to say that they wouldn't want it. Of course that they would. And I reckon those conversations have probably taken place in some sort of capacity. So even though Phil has said they want to empower their teams to do what they want, there has to be some sort of business aspect to this. And right now, that Fallout franchise is going to be sitting idle for
10 years,
10 plus years. Yeah, that's too long. It's ridiculous. I know Fallout 76 is still doing its thing, but eventually it won't be doing its thing, and we're still waiting for Elder Scrolls 6, and then 6 years after that, it's Fallout 5. That's too long.
I don't know, audience. I think
it's too long for Xbox.
I think Lone just completely sold it, and he should be the one to pitch it to Xbox. I think that speech right there, Red? That was the speech right there. It's already done.
That was it. Clip it, send it.
Ship it, just pack it, ship
Lick
it.
Send it.
Blow it. Yeah, get it out.
Pull it,
Get
pop
out
it,
there.
lick it, pop
Bob
it.
See that moon there? You can twist it.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think this decision has tons of friction and resistance to it, but you sold it so well that you can't wait 10 years. When you and I've made videos, and I know that Red's made videos as well, like when we make videos about Fallout or about Bethesda, I get so many people in the comments going, screw that, I'm not waiting 10 to 12 years for Fallout 5. And I'm like, you have to. But the problem is Obsidian their plate is full. They've got a small team still supporting Grounded. They're finishing Avowed probably for holiday of this year. And then that team is directly on Outer Worlds 2, which would be a full-fledged AAA project. So for them to take on Fallout, it wouldn't start for another couple years or 3 years. And I don't like that. I don't like that very much. We got a super here from Boner Jams. He says, Colt Thunderpants, what a great thing seeing you on a Thursday. The winter solstice looks amazing on you. Long live Sega Genesis. Merry Christmas and Ramadan. Yeah, thank you, Boner Jams, for that. The winter solstice.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who may have noticed that I'm not wearing glasses, I'm switching to contact lenses well into my age of 70 years old. And I went to the the ripe old age of 72, and I went to the eye doctor, and they were like, "Okay, you haven't worn contacts in 30 years." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Can you take them out, and we'll show you how to properly put them in?" And so I'm like, like an idiot. I'm like, like Red said, it's like the Dead Space 2 intro where the needle's coming in. Come on.
But they're like, no. Yeah,
and so
you just at the front desk, like with your head tilted back on the counter. There's people in line. You're just like, please.
There was people like right there on the other side of the counter. I'm like an idiot. And I pull one of the contacts out, and then the lady goes, "Oh, you tore that one." I go, "Oh no." And I go, because the morning before the appointment, I put my contacts in. I was like, oh, it was like itching really bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I blink. And then it settled out. And she goes, "You have a tear in it." It was probably like when I put it in my eye.
Right.
So anyway, I'm absolutely ridiculous when it comes to contacts. But thank you so much for being here. We've got over 500 people watching. Shout out to Lone Vault Wanderer and Red Wolf here. And I'm surprised I haven't called you Lone Wolf and Red Vault.
You did twice.
Yeah.
You did twice. You did. Yeah.
I know I said Lone Wolf once.
We're gonna fuse. We're gonna.
Lone Wolf and
Dragon Ball style.
Vault Wanderer Wolf and Wolfenstein and everything else in between.
I like that. Yeah. Let's go.
Oh, let me grab a super chat from a good friend, Hargeet Chani. Thank you for being here on an unannounced day. He says, at this point, I'd rather In Exile or Obsidian, that came out of Interplay who created Fallout, just make their own things. So Hargeet doesn't agree with us. So thanks for being here, Hargeet. You're no longer welcome. He says,
See you later.
he says, BGS should expand, have multiple teams working on several games simultaneously. Now that I would like to see them split their studios and kind of say, hey, you guys work on a Fallout spinoff, partner with it. Imagine that. Partner with Obsidian. You guys just co-develop a side game while the rest of the team like reels up Elder Scrolls 6. Before we talk about Elder Scrolls 6, let's briefly talk about this TV show, because sometime in April we can assume we'll get this mildly improved Fallout 4 patch. That's what I'm expecting it to be. Like, it'll look great on PlayStation as well as Xbox. Because right now on Xbox, it looks top tier and it runs really great. But PlayStation doesn't have that luxury. They don't have FPS boost. But if you use mods and disable trophies, you can. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited about the Fallout TV show. I want to talk about this for a minute because it's TV, but I teared up when I saw the trailer.
It looks so good. We always have to be a bit hesitant with how video games are adapted to TV shows and movies, because oftentimes it doesn't work out. But recently there's been a good string. There's been like the Super Mario movie was very, very good. They're different companies, understandable, but sometimes it's just hard to adapt something that is created as a video game and written as a video game into a TV show and into a movie. But everything that I'm hearing, everything that I'm seeing about the Fallout TV show, who they have on board, the showrunners, they were involved in Westworld, even the actors, like Walton Goggins was born to play a ghoul in Fallout. I'm even like quietly excited. I'm outwardly excited. I hope that it's going to be great, and I'm going to guess that it's going to be a running success. That's my prediction.
Okay. Red, what about you? You had a similar reception to the trailer. How you feeling about it? And how you feeling about the trailer? You can say that too.
I mean, I'm always so after The Witcher. Oh man, DeMarco in chat. Man. I'm always like skeptical, and I even remember seeing the trailer for The Witcher, and I was like, yikes, jinkies, and like did not. And then the best thing about that show was Geralt. It was Henry Cavill as Geralt, and I tried to love it. When I saw this trailer, because I had that mentality going in, like I'm just gonna watch this. I'm not gonna have my expectations up. I'm just gonna watch this. And you can see this show looks to be made by fans of the series, not just willing to make a buck. It's actually made by the showrunners, the terminology is a bit off, but by the boys and someone else. Which, if you've seen the boys, Colt, I don't know if you're allowed to.
Don't watch it with your kids. It's made by the same. It's the same studio and platform, but I don't know how many people worked on the boys that would be involved with Fallout.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So they're not afraid to do some stuff, and if it's Fallout, you can't be afraid to do things.
Some stuff.
Some stuff and some things, chat. So I am really excited. What I saw, I'm with you. When I saw it, I was like, and by the end, I was like, I got like more and more excited as I was watching it. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually really excited for this. It looks really, really good. And Walter Goggins does look handsome, the way that they intended him to be. So
smooth skin.
Smooth skin. Yeah.
The way the music was, like the way you'd hear a radio off in a desolate, broken down city. It's like reverberating through concrete and stone. And you can tell it's an old style song, and it slowly swells into a mix of a stereo mix of orchestral music, and you get that Ink Spots iconic music, and you see that the guy in the power armor in the what's the name of the ship? I was just finished Fallout 4. In the vertibird. The vertibird.
Yeah. The vertibird,
oh, okay, yeah.
And it all just like melds together, because everything you saw lead into the trailer was really great fan service. And then it just all comes together and just touched my heart. And I'm watching this trailer early in the morning, and I started tearing up because I've spent a good part of the past 15 years as just a huge Fallout fan.
Yeah.
I actually started with New Vegas because something about that trailer for New Vegas, I'm like, I got to give this series a try. And then I was playing both of them at the same time with like 9 hands. I was like, oh, amazing.
You should get like a poster to put in your background or something.
What's that? Yeah, probably should do something about that. Yeah. Yeah, this sign is actually an aluminum sign I had a friend of mine make with reflective vinyl. I took it out, my father-in-law and I took it out and shot the crap out of it with our handguns, with pistols. And then I asked my buddy, who's an avid hunter and reloader, to give me some empty shells. So there's 308 shells and a couple of 17 shells that I glued with a glue gun. And I was going to
ask if that was epoxy or how that was. That's awesome.
I just used a hot glue gun, and some of them have fallen off. And then my boss at work gave me some poker chips, and I printed out the Lucky 38 and just glued it to them. And it was just a labor of love because
nice.
I just love that stuff so much. But
so
this Fallout TV show looks great.
Yeah, that power armor, that was the one thing that I saw on all over Twitter. Is like, the power armor looks amazing. Like them walking, like they look like really heavy. And I was talking actually to DeMarco on our show about and what. Wait, tell me what you're laughing about, because
Eric Goff said the assault rifle in the trailer makes me cringe still, and I'm writing laugh out loud.
It looks like a bunch of Pringles cans slapped together with.
That's the point. That's the whole point. It's meant to look bad.
Right, it's exactly.
You have to understand. I mean, there's a great YouTuber, guys, that I discovered this year named Ya Boy Brandy Boy, and he's got a really low voice like this. Yeah. And he's broken down how ridiculous the guns are in Fallout because he's a major fan, and he says it is a cursed, cringeworthy gun. And the assault rifle is like this long, and the barrel's this big. And when I saw it in real life in the trailer, I'm like, but I can't wait.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's another thing. There was hardly any liberties taken aside from the ghoul, and I do agree with DeMarco. He was saying that that he does wish that they make him look more ghoulish, maybe change his eyes a little bit, give him some contacts or something. But aside from that, everything looked a little. It's literally just Colt.
They hire me to put his contacts in. Are you sure?
Are you sure? He's like, do it. He's got the teeth. But do you think that if they were to have taken liberties and say, well, technically in this time frame of the Fallout universe, and fans are like, shut up. This is be lore accurate or don't do it at all. So I'm glad that they stuck with it, honestly. As much as I don't like the look of it, I'm glad that it's there, because I would have been confused. Like, as a fan, I'm like, come on, man, be respectful. Respect this. Respect the Pringles.
And the show's going to be canon. That's the important thing. So if what they're doing is going to be part of the lore of the franchise, they have to stay faithful, at least to some extent. Now, with every new piece of media, with every new game, there's always something new in there. You can't have the same weapons and stuff from Fallout 1. Like, sometimes things change naturally. So there can be some new stuff in there and added, but when you're literally saying that, this is what the actual assault rifle from Fallout 4, it needs to look just as bad and terrible, and no one wants to use it. That makes me excited as a Fallout fan.
Except for the guys in power armor.
You can't forget that there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff that you're meant to laugh at as well, which you guys are both illustrating very well. How some of this stuff looks ridiculous, and the world is ridiculous. I mean, you're looking at what the 1950s imagine the future will be like in year 2077 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
so I think, and it was Chris Parnell in the trailer. I'm pretty sure it's him. I haven't even looked it up. But Chris Parnell is like an alumni of Saturday Night Live, and he's got one single eye in the middle of his head because he's been mutated by the radiation, right? And so he takes a drink of that coffee. He's like, that was the spoiled one.
That's the one thing that, like, I don't know what it is. And it was the same thing. Did you ever watch, was it Doctor Strange, one of his recent movies? By the end of it, he had the eye in the middle of his head. It never looks good. It never looks good. I'm sorry. Cyclops never look good. In
what, you have a problem with Cyclops?
I mean, like not the X-Men, but like
I was
the
gonna say,
eye in the middle.
right? Yeah.
Lone's like
Right.
out here telling us, he's like, I don't care how
much.
much money, I will not get plastic surgery to have one eye in the middle. I just don't think it looks good. It's not something that I'm gonna do. That's kind of the speech you're giving us.
No, it just looks weird and goofy, and I don't know. Like they can never seem, unless you're spending a ridiculous amount on CGI, which it's a TV show with that many episodes, they're probably not going to. It's not going to look good. I would prefer that they didn't do that, but I did post the question on Twitter. I was like, has anyone actually thought why in a world with mutations and radiation and all that, we haven't seen Cyclops characters to date? Because that actually got me thinking. That is a very curious point. We probably should at some stage have seen some sort of mutated one-eyed Cyclops character, because they thought in the world one bigger eye would make you see better than two small eyes, something stupid like that. Do you know what I mean?
Evolution.
An old experimental. Yeah.
Well, there aren't any mutated people in the Fallout universe except for the ghouls and the
super mutants as
Super
well.
mutants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's nobody like casually has an extra arm growing out of their elbow, right? Which would kind of go with the laughs that you get in Fallout, because Red and I often talk about Fallout has that dark humor that is lifted by the whimsical radio music and some of the corny, campy humor that they use in the game. Like here on screen, a bobblehead. Like a bobblehead is one of the best things you can see in the game. And when I used to play Fallout, I would play with that ambient music around, and I would get to the point where my mood, even though I'm loving the game, would just drop into the lower portions where you just feel desolate and alone and hungry and cold. And then I would turn on the Pip-Boy and it's like, he's back and he's back. And I'm like, oh gosh, I hate that song so much. Yeah. I got to ask you, just a tangent. What is your all-time most hated Fallout radio song? Mine's Butcher Pete. What's yours? That you cannot listen to it.
Hate. That's hard. Can we agree first? Because we know this will be quick. What's the best? What's our favorite? Because I already know.
Oh, favorite radio song?
You already know. Go on.
Is it?
Well, what do you think it is?
Is it Big Iron?
It is Big Iron.
No.
Okay, I got cold. Okay, I got
Bro,
cold.
you got me. Lone, what's yours? What's your all-time favorite song?
It's definitely Way Back Home.
Nice.
Okay, way back
that was from
home.
Fallout 3. That is just it's such a good song. But if I was going to tell you the worst one, I think it's Atom Bomb Baby, because it sounds like they're behind three walls and underwater. It's like, what the hell?
Now,
I can't
is
listen
that
to this anymore.
Is that an original? Is that an iconic song, or is it written for the game? Because there's a couple of them. I think are these actually old, or are they written to sound?
I think it is because during the time a lot of these songs that were written, they were sort of, I mean, this was during like the atomic scare and all that, you know, so they took that and wanted to make it something a little more fun.
Uranium fever.
Right. Exactly.
Like, it doesn't sound like a real song to me. I've never looked it up, sorry.
It was, and like, so they were like, let's apply this to like a woman that they're attracted to or whatever. She's an atom bomb baby or whatever, you know, like she'll blow your, I don't know, whatever, your head off or whatever, or your brain. Sorry, this is not the Renegade Realm podcast. I apologize, but you know what I mean. She'll blow your mind is what I was trying to say. Anyway, I apologize, GeoHound. I apologize.
How about in Fallout 4? There's Into the World, which is a really nice slow song that I really like. I can't remember how that one. It's darn it. You know what? It's fine. I'll look it up. Fallout 4. Yeah, there's this like little quiet ballad written by a woman or sung by a woman. Don't you know it's the end of the world?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's the end of the world by Skeeter Davis. It makes me almost tear up.
There's a building. Every time I think about that song, there's a like, you know how you'll have memories and they're tied to like a visual and like a sound. There is one memory with that song, and it's in New Vegas. Is it New Vegas or Fallout 3? There's a building in the middle of a big open area, and it's 2 stories. It's like blown out. and I had the radio on, and I was clearing out raiders, and there was someone that you're supposed to rescue in this building, and it's not indoors. It's like all open, like it's a big open.
That
You
sounds
don't
like
go
Fallout
inside
3.
anywhere. Okay, I think it was Fallout 3, and that song was playing.
It might have been the
and
elementary
it
school
hit.
because there's. Anyway, it's been a long time. But
Yeah, love that.
I was trying to take a look at the chat, like he's back and he's whacking, he's hacking, chopping that meat. Yeah, Y9 Power says, I hate that song so much. Like,
It's hilarious.
but people love it, and people always talk about how much they love that song, and I hate it so much.
I'm gonna get demonetized.
You know what's
Copyright
funny
strike.
is that was only part one of the song. There's a part two as well.
There is.
Does he get caught in the?
There's a part two.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
You know, like that song is actually about a gigolo, right? That's the reference that they're making.
Oh,
Butcher
so
Pete
he
is?
was okay. He was getting down.
Yeah, it's not
now-
about killing people. That's what it is.
He
That's
was-
the reference.
There's
hacking
another
getting
song.
down.
All right. Well,
There's a
that
song
changes
in-
my whole.
There's a song in Fallout 4 that is about a guy who sleeps with a lot of different women. That's in Fallout 4. That, like, I don't know. I guess we grew up in an era where they just outright sang about it, like "I want to suck your toes." But now,
Right. Exactly.
but back then they had to like sing songs about something that would kind of hit it. So
It was a metaphor.
Metaphor. But it is
Right,
not
right.
lost on us in this day and age where it's something my grandpa was probably listening to. I'm like, oh, gross.
Right. Yeah. Now we have like, "Girl, I want to lay you down in the moonlight." It's like, what do you mean by that, Dad?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
will
so-
say though, going back to New Vegas, my favorite song has to be Blue Moon. I think that's
That's Frank
better than
Sinatra.
Big
Oh, you
Iron.
mean Blue Moon? Yeah, dude.
So good.
That's so
It's
good. Yeah.
so and it just fits the tone of that game perfectly. When you hear
That
that
song's in
Blue
New Vegas?
Moon, it's great.
Saw me standing alone.
Yeah, they play that in the
Yeah.
intro when they
Yeah.
do the pull
That's
back.
right.
It's so great.
Yeah.
And then
I forgot about that.
Dean
That's
Martin's
amazing.
song. What's Dean Martin's song? Yeah, they just did a really cool thing where they grabbed like that era of popular music, and then you have this weird old
yeah.
Western music. And there was something about when I heard Big Iron. I didn't know. I know nothing about music before I was born. Like I'm not versed at all. And when I heard Big Iron, I'm like, is this Johnny Cash or something? That's what I thought the million times that I heard it, to where it got to the point I had to go download the song. But Big Iron is like probably my very favorite. Jackson says, "I don't want to set the world on fire." That one's completely iconic.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. Yeah. Big Iron tells a story. I think that's why it hooked me. Like, you're like, oh, and then they mentioned the Ranger, and then you're like, oh, it's like sort of tying into with the NC. So yeah. I love that.
One last question about Fallout. Do you guys play the good guy or the bad guy?
I'm always good or neutral. I'm so soft. I can never play the bad guy. I don't.
Yeah, I can't anymore. I am always like the anti-hero. So like, I am good, and then I'll do like a bad thing to bad guys. Like I'll tread the line, I guess, of like being a bad guy, but it's like I'm like Batman, except I actually kill people in games, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I'm never like the evil guy anymore. I don't like to experiment. Like whenever I was a kid and I had no morals, I would just like playing KOTOR. I'm just like, I'm gonna do an evil run. I'm gonna kill everyone and like hate everyone. I cannot do that nowadays. I cannot do it. Wow! Don't call me. I'm sorry. This is your show, Colt. You just got a big.
While you were saying that, a clip just finished where I shot a lady in the memory den right in the head, but I did that just for. That was specifically for
her
a
head
video.
was the memory den. Sorry.
Yeah, like she's laying in her lingerie on the chair, and I walk up and I go kaboom with the shotgun. But I recorded that just for. That was like when I loaded up the game just to get a clip to say in Bethesda games you can do whatever you want. And you guys are talking about I always do the right thing, and I do too. And then I'm like kaboom and shot that lady in the face.
Oh my goodness.
Reload
What I like
save.
to do.
Reload save. So that's what it feels like. Okay, let me go back.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'll go
Yeah.
back to
That's
being
not
good.
life.
Yeah.
Have you ever done something bad and you're like, I wish I could rewind, but I just broke
Every
this.
day. Every day. Every day. I'm like, I put
Every
on the
day
wrong
of my
underwear.
life, man.
These
So
aren't
I do
mine.
I used to do a lot of drawing and illustrating. I used to draw avatars and profile pictures for people, and I'd be drawing. I'd make a mistake, and then I'd almost see myself go, Control Z on the paper. Oop, it's not going to work.
Right? Yeah, Control Z. Yeah.
In games with a morality meter, I like to typically, a few times in the game, I will secretly do something with an evil group just to make an extra buck. So that'll tell you how my morals are. I'm the good guy, but you need me to kick these people out of their village for 50 caps?
Yeah.
It's a little handshake.
A little
Thank you so much. Just very generous. Super chat from Don't Call Me Scooter has been a long time follower of the show and a friend that we always see in the chats. So thank you so much. He says, Colt, thought this stream is a nice surprise. I thought you were done with 2023. Thanks for the entertainment throughout the year. Merry Christmas to you and your family and tonight's guests. Also, he says, take your shirt off. I would, but when my skin looks like the rolls of a sand dune, it's because I just like to drink Mountain Dew. But no, thank you so much.
Fly over Dune.
Yeah, it's like when the camera flies over Dune.
Oh man, that was so funny.
Nipple?
Oh, is that his nipple? Nope, that's the pyramid, son.
So we do have a lot to look forward to. Just the Fallout 5 game is like 2030 is at the earliest. But let's talk about Elder Scrolls 6. Todd says that they've already built the entire opening mission, the character creation, the opening start of the game at this point. They're in full production as of now, but they've kind of been working on the game a little bit since 2018. Lone, do you know, what's your best speculative guess on what's going on with Elder Scrolls 6 and when we'll see it?
So my understanding, I think I read this somewhere, that they still have a couple of hundred people or something like that on Starfield. And Bethesda Game Studios, AAA wise, isn't the biggest studio in the world. They've expanded, but I don't know if they're in full swing production of Elder Scrolls 6, at least until Starfield's kind of like the expansions are out, modding tools are out, and they've wrapped up. Plus, they're doing Fallout 4 Remake as well. I don't know whether they're actually properly ramping up until everyone is able to shift to working on the game, which is probably why they're setting the foundation with character creation, intro, the stepping out moment, all that kind of stuff. I don't know how far they've got into it. Is that what Todd said, that they're full production now?
No, I was just saying they're probably getting ready to get into full production now that they've launched Starfield and they've got people working on expanded content. So they're probably getting ready to get kind of spool up because I think they would want to have the game out sometime in 2028. But Phil said 2028, but then we've heard other things that maybe they want to meet the next generation, and then the 2026 rumor comes in. But
yeah, that's not happening.
It's not
2026 is not happening. No way. No. How and I know it was through COVID, but how long did Starfield take? And with Elder Scrolls,
Starfield was 8 years.
Yeah, but that was 76 and COVID in the middle of it, so that was a bit of a unique scenario. Now that they're back in the office working, they're probably the biggest that they've ever been numbers wise at the studio. I would say 2027 is probably the earliest that we get it.
Okay. So that would be, Red, you can kind of take a guessing stab at this because they announced the game in 2020 or 2018. Starfield in 2024, they can start working on it. So an additional 3 to 4 years. I mean, yeah, that does sound kind of rough. What do you think about that, Red? Wait, oh, sorry.
I'm here. No, I've been here the whole time.
He was listening.
Wait, is his screen frozen with him away from the? Oh,
no. I'm here. I'm here, baby.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, with Starfield, I'm just gonna say everything that Lone said. I do agree, though. With Starfield. With its, and again, this is what I was saying. I mean, obviously, in game industry now, games take a lot longer to make. 2026. Okay, this is what I was going to ask. How much time did we get after, like with Skyrim, for example, with support, DLC wise, and
Oh yeah.
stuff like that.
I mean, it never ended. If you really think about it.
No, I mean, true, but I guess like
official
support-
DLC, they went on for a year or so. Lone, do you remember?
Right. Yeah.
It started
like at
with
least
the.
like
now.
It started with the. Can you remember? Can you refresh us? Because I was asking about this. The very first major update for Skyrim was the ability to build your own houses within your settlements, like Whiterun. Like you could plop down walls and stuff. Was that what they did first?
So
the first thing, no, that was last. Hearthfire was actually last.
Half-Eye was last. Yeah.
Okay.
But to that point, I guess whenever you find, you can just interrupt me whenever you find it. Do whatever you want all the time. But whenever that support ended, then like you were saying, that's whenever, like, there's no way that they had like half of their team in doing DLC and then also working
For Starfield.
for Starfield, and stuff like that. So I do agree with you, Lone, that Elder Scrolls is too big of a game to just have like 1/5 of their team working on it, and it's been a long time. Yeah. Like it's been a long time. I guess what I wanted to answer your question, I guess if it was did you find the answer? How long was it? 2.5 years?
For Skyrim support?
That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to assume that it's 2.5 years.
I'll tell you now. So the game was released November 2011, right? Yes. So you had Dawn Guard was June 2012, Hearthfire was September 2012, and then Dragonborn was December 2012. So about a year.
Oh yeah, okay.
Really?
And then obviously everything else that came up after that. But yeah, about a year or so.
Right. Okay. All right, so now let's apply that logic to nowadays development time. How much support, official support, are we getting? Right. So with 3 years of support now with Starfield,
or two. If normally they would have spent an entire full year, like Lone explained for Skyrim, I would expect them to spend a full 2 years getting content out, and we've seen the same thing with other games like Forza. Getting his content was doubled. You know, you'd wait 6 months and get a new Forza Horizon expansion, and now it's a year instead of 6 months. So full 2 years. So into 2025, they would still fully be supporting Starfield. Yikes!
There's Munner Yoshi says one reason to use AI is to speed up the development process. Just think of how much you could, how much you could testing make. Cool, perfect. Yeah.
No, he's
that's
right.
That's why you don't use AI.
Right, exactly. Oh, Munter Yoshi is AI.
I'm good. What he's talking about is AI for bug testing or for play testing, and if you can chop off months off of development time by having AI running test routines, throughout the. I think my footage is done here. I have to hit the loop button. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would need. We would need AI to speed up those things that take forever. Let me see. Let me go in here.
Yeah.
And hit loop.
Yeah, and
there we go. Sorry, I got a little completely distracted. So
no, it's okay.
Elder Scrolls 6, 2047. Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Perfect. There we go.
Hargy Johnny, thank you so much for the another super chat. I appreciate it. He says, given all the pushback on Bethesda Game Studios on the creation engine being outdated, should we expect them to work on that for the next couple of years? I'm guessing Elder Scrolls 6 is like 7 years out. Hargy pushes it all the way to 2030. Now,
I mean, it's a decent point. I mean, it was COVID, it was 76, and it was the work that they were doing on the engine. That's why it took 8 years or whatever it was. But I seriously believe that the work that they've done for the engine on Starfield is the foundation that they're going to be using for Elder Scrolls 6. I can't imagine that they're reinventing the wheel again in time for that game. And if they are, slap another 2 years onto it. But I don't think it's going to take that long.
They typically do a half step of what, like when I look at Starfield, I can see half of the DNA from Fallout 4. And I remember when I played Fallout 4 in the beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can feel what they built upon from Skyrim. And then, of course, you go back, if you remember that, I always paid attention to what they did. It's like Fallout 3 was so stilted, like your character's like When they walk in third person, it's like
They're
you can't see my feet right now. but
floating.
Yeah, it's
Right,
like
right.
it's like Gumby walking, and then you get those extra flourishes. So I would expect what looks great in Starfield to get another half step up for Elder Scrolls, and hopefully one big massive map that you see that mountain, you can lick it.
You can eat it.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I think that's
what they have to do. They have to do that. I agree.
I mean, they will, right? Like, one of the things that really bothered me about Starfield, like I love the freedom in space, and you just feel so small. But when you land on a planet, you'd have these icons that were like so far out with nothing in between, and it was the fear everyone felt when they saw the conceptualized Starfield. Murder all of the Crimson Fleet. Get your bounty to $1 million on screen right now. But yeah, Elder Scrolls is a long ways away. So I don't know.
Did they say that?
No, I'm just looking at my footage
Bethesda?
on screen.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Murder all the Crimson. Break your game by getting $1 million bounty.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, they
really
would have
don't.
to stick to the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just don't want to wait that long. But we start off the show saying, "Hey, Obsidian, why don't you fix this stopgap for us?" And Lone said we can just stop crying into our pillows. It's not happening. It's his fault.
Well, and even if it started now, that's not helping us for the next 5 years, right? Like they start planning for that stuff now within the next 2 years. It helps us for after Elder Scrolls 6 when we're waiting for Elder Scrolls 7. That's when the fruit is going to bear. Do you know
I'll be
what
like
I mean?
90 then.
I know. I'm literally I'm thinking about it. I'm probably going to be in my 40s when Fallout 5 comes out, which is just mind-boggling.
You're so young. I'm going to be in the old folks home playing on the Wii when this game comes out.
Back in my day.
Yeah. You're like, I'm literally going to be 27 when Fallout 5. I'm like, screw you.
I'm gonna be 16 by the time this game.
I'm going to have my driver's I'm going to have my driver's license by then.
I can finally drink.
Right, exactly.
Fergus Urquhart, the head of Obsidian currently, because Chris Avallone doesn't work there anymore. I think he's been gone for a few years or more. He has expressed months before this report or this tweet from Chris that he did want to partner and make Bethesda games or their IPs, but it's not in the works right now. Is all we're saying. But yeah, this has been a very unorthodox show, and I really appreciate everybody who took the time out of wrapping presents or shopping or whatever you're doing to sit and listen to us kind of talk the talk about where Bethesda is. And although some hopes and dreams have been dashed, I think we got a pretty good perspective on what we can enjoy now and in the near future, I think. Red, I really appreciate you helping me with this idea and talking me through it last night and being on the show. Tell everybody where they can find you and follow you. I'll have to add your name to the description as well, but I'll put it right here. You can follow him. Let's see. What's your channel name? Because it'll actually... Oh, yeah, right here. It'll do it.
Red Wolf Renegade.
Wanderer.
There. If you go to that...
Wonder Loner Man Guy. Yes. Let's fuse. What would be our channel name? Red Wolf Renegade mixed with Lone Vault Wanderer. So it'd be Red Lone Vault Renegade.
Terrible.
Durr.
Terrible.
Yeah, put Durr on the end.
Said a Durr thing. Renegader.
If you click his name in the chat, which I'll write it again,
Wolfer.
You can launch it in a different window and go and hit subscribe to his channel. He covers adventure games, RPGs, Starfield, Bethesda stuff, Cyberpunk, you name it. And a good friend. I really appreciate you being on here and tell everyone how amazing you are. Just sell yourself.
You can. Well, thank you. Oh, I see you added my personal channel, so that's not even my main channel, but it's fine.
That was a worthless thing. Here, I'll get it. Just keep talking.
No, it's totally fine. I always forget to swap. I need to swap channels whenever I jump into the live streams. That might help. The Lone Red Wanderer.
That's
like
pretty cool.
that, actually.
Like that.
Who's a huge JTC huge package? Thanks, man. So anyway, yeah, you can find me at Red Wolf Renegade on YouTube and on Twitter. I'm not gonna call it the other thing. And yeah, we have a weekly podcast every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have on there Assassin Entertainment, Holly, That Blue Number, and DeMarco Dude. That is our channel. That's our show, and it's rated R. Don't bring your kids there, but
it is
a lot
not.
of fun.
Stop it.
And
they do a good show.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, been so much fun, and great to meet you, Lone. This was a lot of fun. It's only taken me 10 years. So here we are. It's so crazy how time flies, man. It's crazy.
I got to say that being able to run a podcast or do YouTube content has afforded me opportunities to meet people that I admire or I've looked up to. And this was a moment where I said, hey, I can't wait to meet you. And I'm glad you said yes to me on the show. Lone, tell people your channel is in the description. They can click that and they can go sub to your channel, which they probably already have, but they can do that.
Thank you.
Tell us what you have in the works for the end of the year, like what content we can look forward to that people have to click, or else you send your goons out with billy clubs.
Well, pretty much like a lot of the main topics that we talked about in the podcast today, or the show today, whether it was Starfield's plans, bit of Fallout 76, what's happening with Fallout New Vegas 2. I made a video in the past 3 days on each of those topics, so you can go check those out, see if my content is worthwhile for you. But pretty much I make content when news drops. Like as soon as there's something interesting that drops, or there's a discussion point that I want to talk about, that's when I kind of make content. I don't forward plan with my content enough as I should. And unless there's like a review, then I got to get that done. So if you like Bethesda, if you like RPGs, post-apocalyptic games, even the odd Borderlands video, hit me up, Lone Vault Wanderer, as Colt said. And this has been fun, man. I've really enjoyed my time.
Thank you. I'm glad you did. Like, because if you didn't have fun, I would not be able to sleep tonight. Real quick, what games should we be playing if we can't get Fallout anytime soon? Like, what do you want us to play? Is there anything? Fill the void.
I want you all to play the Stalker trilogy and get ready for Stalker 2 next year.
Ooh,
nice.
That is at minimum what you need to do. Yeah.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I actually got a what is it called? I can look it up right now because I have my. Let me see if I can.
Were you gifted something?
This. No, I have. Well, I can't even. I have a because I suck at keyboard and mouse. So come at me, Chad. I'm sorry. I tried. I play it when I can. I just can't with these hands. I can't. They're meant for other things, Anyway, I'm a controller guy.
I don't know where the F button is in the heat of the moment. All right. Yeah, that's me.
Can't even. It literally exactly. But I actually was playing Stalker 2 a few weeks ago because I found it's this software that I found that is like almost specifically made for Stalker to map an Xbox controller perfectly to the key bindings, and it's really good. It's really good. So I've been attempting to do that. Stalker is not easy. Let me tell you guys, that game is a survival game. It is not you do not run in there and mess people up. Yeah. So
it's more like Metro, isn't it? It's Metro.
Metro's good too. That's another good shout.
Yeah, Metro's
really good. I mean, everyone thinks of Metro when they see it, and Metro makes people think of Fallout. And sometimes I just feel like we don't get enough of our favorite style of game. Like, where's the Mass Effect ripoff? Where's more Borderlands ripoffs? Like, we're getting a Borderlands 4 at the end of the year, probably. Maybe.
Yeah.
I reckon Borderlands 4. So there was a little bit of a leak with that. My guess is probably the back end of next year, if not the year after that. They did a really good job with Wonderlands. I actually really like that game.
Same.
Yeah, so I'm hoping Borderlands 4 sometime soon. But I tell you what I'm really looking forward to, and this is a side tangent. I want BioShock, bro. Where the hell is BioShock?
Well,
dude, you've been
aren't we
waiting for
supposed to
that
see Judas next year? Like,
right.
Ken Levine's Judas should be
Ken Levine's
showcasing
music.
next year. I mean,
that and In Exile's Clockwork Revolution. I think those are very exciting BioShock style games that we're going to be getting soon. So there's a bunch of suggestions for you.
Do you think Clockwork Revolution is more BioShock than it is a Fallout style game? Like, I was wondering if Clockwork Revolution kind of makes you feel that Fallout tick, like the grabbing items off a shelf, leveling up your character, turning back the clock. Which, that could be a whole show in itself one of these days. Hargeet Chani, thank you so much for saying in support of Insomniac. Here's a Steam global code for Spider-Man Miles Morales, both games, the 2018 and Miles Morales game on Steam. Very generous. Hargeet has become, although he's not a Christmas guy, I have called him Hargeet Santa this year. He is phenomenal. Hargeet sent me a 4K Blu-ray player. Oh my gosh. Wow. I was like, what in the world? And then he goes, oh yeah, the movies are coming tomorrow. So he's been so generous, and he's got his finger on the pulse of what people in the community really love. And he was pretty nice to you too as well, Red Wolf. I'll say very, very nice.
So I guess I'll just say this now, because I never like to like put, I don't want to like put people in the crosshair when it comes to generosity, because a lot of people in the world are not as grateful and cry at everything when they get gifted things like me. But Hargeet gifted me a brand new Xbox whenever Series X, when mine was broken, and he just sent it to me. And I'm not kidding you, Hargeet. I literally was in tears, like laughing, crying, like, like, because I couldn't believe that just happened to me. It was crazy. And then also gifted me like some, like, my favorite movies of all time, like a ton of the Blu-rays, like Lord of the Rings trilogy, Spider-Man trilogy, the Batman, and a bunch of other stuff. And really, really just heart of gold, dude. So Hargeet, shout out to you, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And shout out to this community who is amazing. The people that support Lone on his channel, the people that are here supporting us, it means a lot. Thank you so much, you guys. We're just a few days away from the holiday. I hope you stay safe. Enjoy your time. Lone, thank you so much for being here. I had a really great time. Glad we got to know each other. And you guys hit the like button on the way out. I didn't ask you to hit the like button, but those of you who enjoyed the show, I guess you probably did. Thank you so much. Everybody, you have a good night. We're going to hit the outro button and enjoy the rest of your day. Let me find the button.
Bye.
Where is it? Strong like milk of human kindness. I can't find the where is it? Who knows?
You get it? Are we?
I think we're still alive.
We are still alive.
This good content.
I'm looking for that. So, intro. No, out there. There it is. All right, guys. See ya.